Good evening. I'm Fred Jones. I'm subbing for Mark Zarnick, our president, tonight. He's up in Maine. I don't know if he's looking for moose or not, but he sends his best regards to everyone. Welcome to our Land Trust 12th Annual Forum. On behalf of the Land Trust, I wish to thank all of our donors, volunteers, and directors for your continued support of HLT. Our Board of Directors welcomes new Director Fred Caputo and returning Director Carol Bluen. Fred and Carol. Thank you. I'd also like to thank Harold Bordwick for his long-time filming of our HLT events, and for Mark Bombard of Granby Community TV for continuing the filming as he's doing tonight. I want to call your attention to the tables we have over here. You'll see some HLT calendars, some photo cards, baseball caps, and Chris Anderson's wooden signs, Hartland signs, that are for sale. And thanks go out to Carol Vincent for setting that up. We also have copies of our 2018 annual report and extra copies of our newsletter that are available at no charge. Those are free. But we also have donation jars there. Some of you have seen them already. Thank you very much. Tomorrow is our 4th annual Connecticut Forest and Park Association's Connecticut Trails Day hike. The hike will be led by Steve and Pam Emmons, and we'll cover a portion of the Tunxus Trail. We're to meet at Walnut Hill Road and Pine Street at 9 a.m. Constant rain will cancel this event. So I want to thank Steve and Pam for heading this event. This year we commissioned and obtained a baseline ecological report and a management plan for our Charles and Lois Beach Nature Preserve in West Hartland. This was written by forest ecologist Harry White. Hartland Land Trust volunteer Tim Kendrick has been monitoring this property. This year we will also update our Bassett Kelp Preserve Management Plan. You can see some photographs of those two preserves over where the maps and charts are near the tables. Take a look at those when you get a chance. There are refreshments available after tonight's program. They are free, but remember I mentioned the donation jar. Okay. Now, so much for the script. I have a moose. I have not a moose story, but I have a story to tell you. It's quite brief. Whenever we have one of our events, one of the ways we advertise is with our sandwich boards. Perhaps you've seen them around town. The problem is that we have limited space on that sandwich board, and we don't always have enough letters. So we have to be kind of creative as to what letters we choose and what we say on that sandwich board. And the first line on the sandwich board is always the name of the program. So we use large letters that said moose. Then we put the date and the time. And then on the last line, we usually put the venue. And so on the venue, we put large letters that says school. So I'm driving down through Riverton. I'm looking at the sign that's set up there, going about 40 miles an hour. I glance over, and all I saw was Moose School. So I'm thinking, tonight, we're in Moose School. We're the students, and Jake's our teacher. Okay, so Jake Harton saw his first moose on a family vacation in New Hampshire and has been an eager seeker of moose sightings ever since. Moose are his passion and his hobby. He lives in Southington, but on a tip from his photography professor 5 years ago, he soon began walking the woods of Hartland in search of moose. Studying criminal justice at Tunxus Community College, Jake's plan is to become a DEP, did I put an extra E in there? Conservation officer after fulfilling the requirement of serving as a police officer for 2 years. Please welcome Jake Harton. School is in session. I don't know if there's going to be a quiz afterwards.
Maybe there might be. What's going on, guys? Is this thing? Hello? Okay. I'm going to have, this is my grandmother's here also. She's going to use the PowerPoint for me because, yeah, I'll tell you when to. My name is Jake. I've been hiking for about 6 years now. I became addicted to finding all these antlers here. It actually all started with my grandmother and her landlord, Barbara, right there, that they live in an area in Southington, and in their backyard they used to put deer feed out, and they used to feed the deer every single night. And I would go over there and kind of hide in the deck and take pictures of them all the time. Then we started getting bucks that were coming out, and I was fascinated by their antlers. And then that's when I looked it up online that they shed their antlers. So I was like, okay, that's cool. So the next day, I went out in my backyard, and this is the middle of August, and it was probably 90 degrees, thinking I was going to find an antler shed in my backyard. And little did I know there's way more to that than that. So, because they don't shed until the springtime. So, went in the woods, didn't find anything, got covered in ticks, said, what am I doing? So, that's when I started looking up online on how to look for sheds. And the first shed I actually ever found, which is at home right now because the rodents ate it all up, was actually by accident in a street down the street from where I live. Walking through the woods, not seeing anything. I'm like, man, this sucks. So I'm coming out the same direction that I went in from my truck, ducked onto the tree. There was a shed right there that I had walked by going into the woods. And I'm like, there we go. And ever since then, I became addicted. I have over, I want to say 160 of those in my house. And my mother wants to kill me. Yeah, my mother wants to kill me. Ever since I moved out, those have been staying in the basement because I can't have them at where I live now. But she wants to kill me. Definitely. So yes, over 160 antlers and skulls too. And then I found it took me about 4 years to find my first set of moose sheds, these ones right here in the front. Took me about 4 years to find those. It was with my cousin, Ashley, and my friend Mike Bach, who actually, he hikes barefoot, and he was supposed to be on Naked and Afraid, but I don't know what happened with that. So, I'll start the program here with, you just gotta just click on the picture thing in the front. Can you put the microphone up a little? Yeah. The first one? Yep. So this, I'm gonna put the, oh, this can go bigger than that. Do you know how to zoom in just like a little bit? On the scroll thing? On the scroll thing? On the mouse. Oh, crap. Okay. No, right there at the bottom, there's a magnifying glass. See it on the side? No. Right there. On the screen. On the screen next to the arrows. No. Almost there. Almost there you go. Yeah, just put it up just a little bit. Hello? Ooh. How you do? Just click on it and then just kind of hold on to it and kind of move it up. You all can see the picture though, right? Yeah. Okay. So this deer right here was when I became addicted to start finding these things. This was actually right in my backyard. That's my dad's shed in my pool. Now this was a huge buck, and normally they don't walk towards people, especially during the mating season. So this deer here happened to walk right by me when I went to go take a walk in the woods, and he happened to be back there, rubbing his antlers against some trees. And I said, oh geez. So I ran back and got my camera, ran back out, and you'll see, click the next video. He's in the, no, X out of it on the top. There you go. Yep, and then the next video. There we go. Yeah, so I'm like, okay, he's probably just gonna stay there. Yeah. Oh, he looked right at me. I still don't understand why he didn't run. He was a big deer.
you have camo on?
No, I did. I actually had no, I didn't have camera on. Then that's what surprised me is that.
You're following him?
Yeah, I was even followed. Then he took off after. Ran across our street.
Yeah,
Yep, that's right in my backyard. Yeah, then the video cut off because I was trying to get closer and he ran away. So that was the first big deer that I had walked by me. My sister and my mother were on the deck when it happened. And my mom yelled at me after. She says, "You could have been killed." I was like, that was so cool though. Click the X button at the top. Go to the next folder. The folder button at the bottom? Or where? No, where to go? On the top it says Moosin Around. Next to Internet Explorer, click on that. Where it says Bears.
Bears?
Bears. The second one.
This is,
Yeah, go ahead and click on that video.
this one?
Yep. This was a bear that ran down the tree and says, "I'm not having him today." So that was just a little quick video. That was in West Hartland off of Route 20. First I'm thinking it's a porcupine, and then I thought at first he was going to be running after me, and I was like, oh geez, so he ran the other way. The next video. Next video is actually a baby bear that seemed to have lost its mother. Yeah, I kept my distance because I didn't know where Mama was, so.
Mama usually stays close by.
They are very cute, but I wouldn't want to pet one with Mom around, so. Whoops.
Here?
No, go back to bears. There were some more pictures. The third one. This bear here I heard was, I think his tag said 93 on there. A lot of people were seeing him the year he was coming around. And he's a bold fellow, definitely. I was with my friend who hikes barefoot, and he kind of bluff charged us, and my friend was like, no, just, stand your ground, don't make any sudden movements. And the thing is with bears nowadays is they're all over the place. And I think they're becoming accustomed to people now. It's insane how many bears I've seen this year. Click the video. Yeah, so there he is coming in for a closer look at us. And I guess, according to my friend, he's an expert in bears actually, says the mother probably just kicked him out last year, so even that size too, I was like, really?
I'm gonna get fired.
Now my computer is gonna blow up probably. Next one. And then when we went in the woods, we came back out and he was waiting in the road near my truck, so he wasn't done with us yet, so. Next video. This is in the same area, but a month after, there's actually two bears. I was in a walking trail. You can see one coming in, there's one in the back. And he's like, oh, it's this kid again.
This is Hartland?
Yep, West Hartland. Right there, Howell's Pond. I managed to snap a pic of his friend that was behind him, though. He stuck around and didn't have any tags in him, though.
What are the tags?
I heard that the tags are when they're born, the DEP will tag them, like with the location of where they're at and how old they were. This one was hiding up in a tree. He didn't move either, so. This is another one. A lot of them, they say that usually when they have two tags, it's because it's a problem bear. I've heard that. I don't know if that's true for sure, though.
I don't think it is.
Yeah.
I called Session Woods a couple of years ago to ask about that question, and different years they use different color tags, and they tag both ears in case one falls off.
Oh, okay.
That's what I was told.
Yeah, this is a porcupine. They're very good climbers too. And then, the funny story about this bear was I was at, if you know where Great Mountain Forest is in Norfolk, I was up in that area in the fall, and I was walking back to my truck on the trail, and I see something black. It got really, really windy, so the wind will throw off the scent, and they were running towards me on the trail, and I was like, okay, here we go. So they saw me and they veered off to the left. So I think the wind either confused them with my scent and they took off, but there was another one with him though, but that was probably one of the biggest bears I've seen in Connecticut.
X.
No, click on the back button on the top, all the way over.
Yeah.
That one right here, big Maine bull moose. Now this was the biggest moose I've ever seen in my life up in Maine in a canoe.
The moose was in it?
No. Yeah, he was big. What happened was we had a tour guide. It was with my dad. We went for the week, and we ended up seeing, I believe, around 36 moose in the whole trip. I mean, that place is just loaded with them. And the tour guide, we were at the beach getting into the canoe, and she just looks out, and she goes, "There's one over there." And I was like, "That's a rock." And then his head lifted up out of the water. I was like, "Okay, no, that's a moose." This was in Greenville, Maine.
Oh, you're up in Allegheny?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, he going for a morning swim.
Was that on Chamberlain Lake? You on Chamberlain Lake?
I don't remember the lake it was called. She found us a random pond, and she just said, "There's a bull that likes to hang around in this area." So she's like, "I'm going to take you into there." We watched him for a while. I didn't want to leave. It was pretty cool. Next one. Yep, that one right there. Yeah. You can click the arrows at the bottom now.
Here?
Yep. Took a few shots of him. It was kind of hard, especially in the canoe, and I was shaking too because it was pretty exciting to see. That's the biggest one I've ever seen in person. So, and you could see the velvet all over his antlers. This was late August.
Jake, what's the purpose of the velvet? Does that have any purpose?
It's blood vessels that supply it when it grows. It's the fastest growing bone on earth. And they say, you know, eventually when they rub it off, it gets really itchy. That's why you see their antlers are like a dark red color when they shut off their velvet because of all the blood vessels in there. And they're known to actually eat the velvet too when it falls off. Everything's edible. Click the X button on the top. There's one more video right there.
Here?
Nope, keep going. Right there. I tried to get a few videos of him. See, it looks like a rock.
Yeah. He's got his head under the water.
Yep. There it is. Talk about a grand entrance.
So they can hold their breath.
They can hold their breath pretty well. There's some aquatic plants in there that they like, and they can, yeah. Yeah, I didn't want to leave that spot that day.
Yeah. I was wondering why they like the water so much.
Yeah, I know, it was hard to keep the camera still. We didn't want to get too close because they can hear when we were canoeing, we were trying not to make noise against the canoe because they can feel the vibration in the water because of their ears. And so we were about, I want to say about 30 feet away from him. We didn't want to get too close though because even though he's in the water, that's a full-grown male moose, so I don't want to mess with him.
Yeah.
Facebook notification. Click on the back button on the top. There you go.
Here?
Yep, CT bucks and does. Click on the first one. Now this was a fawn I saw. This was in my grandmother's backyard. We nicknamed this deer Keisha. I still don't know why we called it that.
Because we named it. Oh,
There's a field next to her house, and I decided to take a walk in the back. And believe it or not, they can camouflage themselves pretty well with those spots that they have on them. Yep. And I could. Mama was watching me in the distance. I could see her, so I was like, "Your baby's adorable. I want no trouble." That's her and the mother. That's from the top of the deck when they used to put the deer feed out in the back.
Is it illegal to feed?
In certain states it is. It depends on when you feed them. The feed that we got, you can get it from Agway. It's some kind of molasses that they like. And in some states it is. That's another doe. That doe was pissed at me. Oh, that's a coyote.
Around here?
Yeah, that's in my backyard.
My backyard?
Yeah. This was after those deer came out, so you could tell the deer weren't having it and they left. Nice red-tailed hawk. That was a big buck I saw. If you know where Lake Compounce is in Bristol, there's a mountain up there. I went up in there and he was up there chasing. They chase females during the rut season. He was chasing the doe. And another buck that just didn't seem to care when they only got one thing on their mind during the rut season, so I don't think they care about people. That was a little buck. Another coyote in the snow. This is that sleeping giant. Some turkeys. Figured I'd throw one of those in there. Another doe. This is actually at Sleeping Giant State Park, and there's no hunting there, so they don't seem to really care for people too much there. That was a nice buck that I saw driving actually on the highway, going 75 miles per hour. Slow down, man. This buck here, I have a bunch of antlers off of where I was. It looks like I'm on a tree stand. I was on a ridge line, and I have his sheds. These are his antlers right here. So you can kind of see here. So those are his sheds too. I found those about, let's see, almost a mile from where I saw him actually. They traveled pretty far. He was a big deer, but I was on a ridge line and caught no scent of me of where I was and tried to get as many shots as I could, but you can see the neck is all swollen from rubbing against trees. That's in the same area, a little deer. Coyote bedded down. That's in Southington also. This is in Farmington near Tunxus Community College. That was a nice buck I saw in Ragged Mountain in Southington. That's his girlfriend. That's another shot of him from the side. Nice 9-point buck. Nice little head shot of her. That's in our backyard. Another mom and a baby. This was in the snow. That was a big buck. Now this, I used to have a video, but then my computer's been having some serious issues lately. This was right in our backyard. These foxes had a den. There was about 6 of them that lived back there, so I put my camera on a tripod near their den, and I'd go inside the house, and it would just make like a clicking noise, and they'd come out, and they'd just kind of sit there and just look at the camera, and just, basically they like to be on the news, I guess. That was I don't know why it's so small, that was a moose I saw in Southington that eventually got hit on 84 a few weeks later, unfortunately. Click the X button at the top. Click on the video.
This one?
Nope, the other one. This is the baby deer when she ran away. Little legs. A little tail. Yep. Nope, next one. This is in my grandmother's backyard also. There was about 6 of them. I was crouched down underneath the deck, so I was hoping they wouldn't see me, but then she got wind of me. And what they do, they'll stomp their feet, like, go away. Got a small one, a little buck. Yeah, I knew once she got wind of me, she was gonna take off. Oops.
Yeah.
Nope, next one. Go down, over 2.
Yeah.
Keep going. Keep going. There you go, right there. This doe took off from me. What they do, they'll put their tail up. It's to warn other deer that are around the area, that there's danger here. And then they'll kind of do like a snort wheeze, and then they'll all take off after that. That's what she did. That's why she was all drooling. They'll kind of blow steam out their nose. This was a little buck that I was surprisingly pretty close to, but didn't seem to care too much about me. I was hoping his antlers would fall off right here, because this was late in the year. Right there, I was like, fall off. Nope, nothing.
I don't know how they do it. They shake their head and they fall.
Sometimes that happens. All the way down. Right there. Now this was deer, I went snowshoeing in about 2 feet of snow, so I figured, how much of a struggle it was for them that winter. When they have to walk through the snow. Unfortunately, I found a lot of dead deer that year. But you can see it goes up to their knees. Here's a little close-up video of a deer I saw in West Hartford. West Hartford. There's a porcupine going up a tree. Man, don't click the X button. Gotta wait for the video to finish first. This was in our backyard also. This is the mom and the baby deer. Wait, you clicked it too fast. Go back. It wasn't done yet. Don't go into the X button. It's the thing on it is sensitive. I do that all the time. Yes, the baby's behind our fireplace. They like to play though. The mother's like, I just want to eat. Then she'll come running back around again. Yeah, she was a very playful doe. Click the X button. Go back to the top, Moosin Around. Where it says CT Bull, October 6th. Now this is one of the biggest bull moose I've ever seen in Connecticut. No, the next one, not that one. This moose I saw off of Route 181 in Barkhamsted. He actually has a radio collar around his neck that the DP uses to track him. Yeah, some of the images are kind of dark. It was hard to focus, but what I did, I had a coffee can, and I was making a moose. I knew he was in there because there was a cow in there too, and you use a coffee can with paracord on it, and you wet the string, and you kind of slide down it, and it makes like a "or" sound. So I went in there doing that, thinking that, this is probably ridiculous, but I might as well give it a shot. And sure enough, I start hearing him growing in the distance, and I stopped, and I was like, oh boy, this should be interesting. And he came in pretty close, and I had a tree in front of me, so I think he was kind of disappointed that I wasn't a female, though. Yeah, but he was big. Definitely an older moose. His antlers are starting to decline a little bit, but the body size, big moose.
Good, or are they covered with ticks?
There's a few that, when they're covered with ticks, they'll have bald spots on them, and you can see there's hair missing, or they're really skinny and straggly looking. But he was very healthy bull. Click the X button.
What year?
2016. Click on the one at the bottom. The video at the bottom. Took a few videos of him just standing there. I wanted to get as many pictures as I could because I may never see that again in Connecticut. We could kind of see him drooling a little bit because he was ready to go for a fight. So other people have seen that same moose too, crossing Route 181 too with their car. Luckily, no one has hit him yet because they'll do some serious damage.
Field to rut.
Yeah.
I've seen him chasing a female around their field, and actually had
Yeah, they dig and then they kind of.
Yeah. I haven't seen it in probably a couple years.
It's fun to watch them when they chase around the females, because the females will start kicking them. They don't want it. They're not having it today. They say, go away.
Do they travel? Do they travel far?
Oh yeah, there was one that DP told me about. He was in. They found him at the shoreline actually. I don't know if he was visiting the beach, possibly. They transferred him all the way up into Granby, and then he made his way back into West Hartford. So they'll travel pretty far. It's amazing how far some of these animals will travel. Click the back button on the top. There was one at Bradley Airport too, and if you don't remember that one, I don't know how that one got there though. Taxes are too high for moose too. Click the first one. This moose right here, a friend of mine, that's him with the sheds right here. Those two in the front, that's actually him right there. This moose was in Massachusetts, and I believe, what's that area called? Sandusfield, Massachusetts. Believe it or not, when I found those sheds, I'm friends with this guy on Facebook who hunts in that area, and he saw the picture when I posted of those sheds, and he said, I think I got a picture of your moose. I said, there's no way. And sure enough, it's actually him. So he traveled all the way down from Massachusetts, went to Hartland, and shedded his antlers. And believe it or not, I'm friends with him on Facebook, so I don't know what the odds of that were, but that's a bull moose shack in Salisbury, there, if you know where Bear Mountain is. There's a few in that valley too. There's a few moose in there. That's a moose rub. What they do, you see they use their bottom teeth and they scrape it up. And you can tell when it's not a deer because it's pretty high up in the tree. That was a moose that I saw in Hartland actually last year, up near, if you know where Milo Road is, up on the corner over there. She was big. I'm not touching it, by the way. That's some moose scat. There's plenty of that around Hartland. Moose track in Tungsten State Forest. There's another moose rope when I went hiking in the snow. That's a moose where you could see where it went to sleep, and they bedded down right there. And you could tell the beds are pretty big. This moose here, there's a funny story about this one. Don't click the button yet. This moose actually, it was in the middle of July, and it was blazing hot outside, so I don't know what I was doing looking for moose. Moose do not like the heat. They hate it. That's why you'll find them a lot in the swamps and everything, because the bugs will harass them, and they overheat very fast because they got so much fur. So this moose here, I spent the whole day hiking, wasn't seeing anything, so I'm walking in the woods, making a bunch of noise because I'm like, I'm not going to see anything now, it's too hot. So I'm walking, and on the corner of my eye, I catch something black, stand up, start running towards me, and then run the other direction. So I stopped, I kind of did like a little, and sure enough, it was a bull moose that was actually sleeping, and I spooked him from his afternoon nap, and he stood there, and he was all shaking, he was ready to go, and I was like, holy crap. So I took as many pictures as I could of him, and then once he took off, there was no seeing him again. And they sound like a freight train running through the woods if you ever see one running. Deer are just, they kind of jump, but moose, they're just... So he was a nice bull though, but that's the only good picture I could get of him. But we scared each other. So now I know when I'm coming out of the woods to be quiet, because you never know where these guys are.
Where was this one?
This one was in West Hartland also.
You see any in East Hartland?
Not so. West Hartland seems to be the best spot. I mean, I've gone in East Hartland a few times, but I find some tracks, but mostly on the west side near all the ponds, near Howells Pond. They seem to favor that area the most. This moose was in Cheshire Meriden line, near Hubbard Park, if you know where Hubbard Park is. Believe it or not, what happened was this was on Easter Sunday in 2014, so happy Easter. And so I was looking for antler sheds. I ended up finding 4 sets of antlers that day. So I'm walking in the woods, and I start finding like the scat piles, and I'm like, there's no moose in this. This is too far down in the state. Then I start finding the tree rubs against the trees, and I'm like, it could have been just a moose that just passed through and is somewhere up in this area now, because they occasionally will do that. So I'm walking up on the top of a hill, and there's a swamp at the bottom of the hill. So I'm walking, and I hear something running up the hill, and sure enough, it's her. And I'm like, she's in here right now. And it's the one day I didn't bring my nice camera. So all I had was my cell phone camera. So for my cell phone camera, it did pretty good. But so she was really far away from me when I saw her. And I was like, okay, let me start making some calls, you know, maybe we get her interested to come in closer. And she was really far away, and I was getting really bad pictures of her. So I was like, let me see if I can try to follow her from a safe distance. So what I did was, she was on the top of the hill, and I was on the other side, so it kind of goes down like this. The swamp is right there, and she was on the other side. So I walked down there, started following her going this way, and kind of followed her, and she would look at me, and I would just kind of, when she'd look at me, I would just be like, thinking, you know, just looking around, and didn't seem to care, wasn't running away. And so eventually I went up to the top of the hill, and she kind of stopped, and she's like, all right, let me go check him out now. So then she came in close, and I was like, okay, where did I start now? So she came in pretty close. I kept the tree in front of me. I posted this on because I'm part of a Facebook group on Facebook called Southington Talks. I'm from Southington, so I posted this picture on there, like, you know, watch out, there's a moose around. Wasn't telling people exactly where I saw it, because people can be stupid sometimes. And I was afraid that someone was going to go in there and harass it, and it would either someone would kill it or get hit on the highway. So I was like, I don't want to tell people where I saw this. So people were like, I want to know where this is. You know, I have little kids. I'm like, lady, it's a moose. It's not going to come after your kids, and I can assure you it's not near your house. But, you know, people got angry with me, so I was like, I'm going to delete this. And then News 8 contacted me, and I was like, okay, here we go. So if you know Bob Wilson from News 8, he came and they interviewed me about the moose. And they said, well, where'd you see it? And I was like, you know, on the Meriden-Chester line. And they're like, but we need an exact location. I was like, let's just say it was in the Meriden-Chester line. I was like, I don't know, I don't want anything bad to happen to it, you know. It wasn't supposed to be there where it was, you know. It was, Hubbard Park is right near Meriden, so, you know, I don't know where this female was gonna end up next, but that picture you saw of the moose in Southington, the way Hubbard Park is, you got Hubbard Park and you got Ragged Mountain. It's in the same vicinity, but Ragged Mountain's in Southington. But that was in April, and then in June, when I saw that moose, I'm thinking, is that the same one? But this is in the summertime, like, what are the odds of that, though? That's the same moose, but it traveled up into Ragged Mountain, then got hit on 84, unfortunately. I still don't know to this day if it was the same moose, but it was pretty weird. Click the next one. Yeah, she's a very beautiful cow, though.
You got any pictures of them scraping bark in the wintertime?
I have a few pictures of the scrapes. I haven't been able to see them actually do it. It would be interesting to see, though. Click the X button. Yep. And I'll go to the back button on the top. First. Now this, where it says first CT moose. Now this is the very first moose I saw at Hartland. It took me about 6 times. This was a young bull. What happened with this bull was, this is the middle of June, and normally they don't respond to moose calls until the rut season. So I decided, what the heck, I might as well try it. And sure enough, he was down in the swamp and started going, whoa. And I was like, that's gotta be a frog. There's no way that's a moose. And then he came in, I was like, okay, nope, that's a moose. And unfortunately, this one, I had no tree in front of me, so now I learned my lesson from that, though. So I was really scared with this one, because, you know, what they do when they're not really happy, they'll kind of put their ears down, and they'll kind of sway their head back and forth. It almost, and their eyes will kind of like pop out, so it almost makes them look like they're like, get out of my way. But yeah, he was close. He came so close to me at one point, I could have probably touched his nose. And I took a step back, and that's when he stopped, and his ears kind of went down. And I was like, oh God, I'm gonna get killed by a moose today. So I didn't make any sudden movements, and you know, he eventually walked away, and I was like, oh, thank God. So I called my dad. I was like, Dad, I just saw a moose in Connecticut. And he goes, Pixar didn't happen. And I was like, do you not hear my voice right now? I'm literally shaking. I just saw a moose in Connecticut, and I almost died from it. And so then I showed him the video. It's like, you got that off YouTube. I was like, no, I almost died. Click the X button. young, curious bull, but it was a rush to see. And that's a still picture from the video. Little nubs of antlers starting to grow on them. Click the bottom back. Where's his Hartland cow? Now this was actually if you know where Howell's Pond is, if you go towards, I want to say the right, there's another swamp in there. I don't think there's a name for it though, but I was in there and I was on the other side walking, and of course I do it every time I go in the woods now because apparently it works off when it's not the rut season. I'll make the moose call, and sure enough I hear, ooh, ooh, and I hear it splashing in the water. I'm like, here we go again, another moose. So, unfortunately, I was on the other side of the pond. And at first I was gonna go on that side where she was, and now I wish I did. And I was on the other side, and she could hear me making the moose call, and she was responding to it. And I was like, oh no, don't. And she started walking away, so I was like, oh gosh, don't walk away. So, took some pictures of her, got one video. You could see, there was a few moose sightings this year where they kind of look like that, where their fur's kind of messed up, and some people think it's ticks. It's actually their winter coat shedding, and it's becoming into so they're going to be like a blackish color. If it had ticks, you would see it would be completely bald on their body. She came back out in the swamp again. Oh, I'm definitely going to do it. Click the video. This is her walking away. Didn't like my call. I'm not, no males today. Once I got on the other side of the swamp to see if I could try to meet up with her, she was long gone by then. Mean moose. And this deer this was up in Maine. This deer got a bunch of stuff on its neck, like a transmitter box, and some tags in its ears. I don't know if it's uncomfortable with them, I would think so, but I think Maine was using that to track their movements and everything. Gosh. Click the next one. Next one.
Where am I going, Jake?
X button.
Where is it?
Right there. Next video. And believe it or not, or no, the one at the top. I got out of the truck and just stood right next to her, and she just kept feeding. She was kind of skinny looking though, I don't know. Deer are very skinny. Unlike moose, deer are very skittish. You'll see in their movements and everything. Moose, because they don't see very well, they're kind of blind.
But you would think with the collar, it's a little dangerous. They'd get it tangled up. And
I wondered that too, especially because that one's kind of loose on her neck. So I would hope that wouldn't happen. That'd be a terrible way to go.
They all have a breakaway because if they get anchors on something.
Oh. Because I know the DP lost a few collars of moose because they failed or something, the thing on it, and it would fall off, and they'd be like, let's go find this moose, and all they find is the collar, and they're like, well, there's no moose here, but we found our collar. Click the X button. Oops. Go back to main moose. At the bottom, where it says main moose. It's the third video. This was a moose that was right on the side of the road in Maine, feeding in a pond. Big one too, nice healthy cow. It's amazing. Most of the moose, unlike deer, they don't seem to really care for people. I don't know if it's because they know that they could kill us. But their eyesight is very poor, but their sense of smell and hearing is very good. And we were probably parked 20 feet next to her out the window.
How long does it take to grow antlers that size?
They're the fastest growing bull on earth. They shed them They usually shed them earlier than deer do. It depends on the winter and depends on how much stress they're at too. They can lose them as early as December. That set of deer I found in January, which is around the normal time when I lose them. But sometimes they will carry them all, especially the younger ones, they're carrying them all the way into April. But it all depends on a ton of factors, how bad the winter is and their health.
And they're growing all, after they shed them,
Yep.
how many months till they're full grown?
They start growing in the springtime, which would be around April, and they're finished in August. And then they shed their velvet. So it's the fastest growing bone on earth. That was a mom and baby moose. They always say never get between a mama moose and a baby. That's the worst place you want to be. Or for any animal.
Do they kick with their front feet?
Oh yeah, they have very sharp hooves. They can kick pretty well. This was a young bull crossing the road up in Maine. You could see little nubs on the antlers. And the other thing is their eyes don't glow at night, unlike deer, so you could see the white legs and then the black body, and then usually it's too late by then. That's what makes them so dangerous on the roads. My dad's friend, actually, because my dad's originally from New Brunswick, Canada, so it's probably why I like moose so much. I got a little bit of Canadian blood in me. And his friend hit one with a motorcycle, and he got thrown off the bike. Because you hit a moose with a motorcycle, because they're so tall, you're going to go into the body, and the moose ran away, but unfortunately he died. I remember my dad told me that story. This was a moose walking towards us in Maine. What they did here, there's a camp there called, I think it's Casey's, and they put like a salt mineral in like a pit, and they love to lick the salt, especially after the snow when they put the road salt down. People think that, it's dangerous to them, but they love it. And you'll see here, sometimes they're just so tall and they can't reach the ground, so they gotta improvise right here. You'll see they kind of get on their knees. So usually that's filled with water, and then the salt will kind of dissolve onto the ground. I like to call this a Monday morning moose, as you'll see in a minute. They are kind of ugly looking when they're water and their ears kind of down. But they love those aquatic plants. They'll eat pounds of food a day. But the swamps is what helps keep the bugs off them, because the bugs, especially this year, I heard in Maine, the ticks are horrendous, especially even here too. Next to it, no, next to it.
Yeah.
Nope, see, right there. Nope, up one, there you go. This moose right here, this dirt road's actually right on the side of the main road in Maine, and we were driving and it was just walking like this. I was like, Dad, wait, stop, go back, there's one right there. So we backed up, and then we saw her, then she took off. I was like, just stop here, I'm gonna go catch up with her. I'm gonna go cross through the trail and try to get a picture of her. Then she got wind of me and she stopped and she goes, this kid again. So she that was a really big moose up in Maine, in the swamp, near Baxter. This is in Baxter State Park. This moose was, when I went up looking for sheds, I went up, took a week in the Allagash up in Maine with my friend Carl, and this dude is the king of moose. He has antler sheds in his garden, he has a shed full of sheds, and his house is like a museum. And when I went there, I was like, can I live here, please? And that was a nice bull, just starting to grow antlers up in Maine. A mom and a baby. You can see his antlers just starting to grow. He's going to be young though. To show how close we were from the truck. That's another young bull. Click the X button. The video at the bottom. No, not that one, the other one. That one right there. There's the mom and the baby. Starting to lose their winter coat. That's actually a young bull calf.
Why is it first so late?
It all depends. I mean, I think those ones might have had ticks on them, because what happens when they get ticks is that they'll itch themselves constantly on trees, and they'll itch their fur off until they're bald. It's sad. At least a thousand. There was, I don't know if you guys know Cheryl Anderson. She had a moose in her well that fell in, and when they took it out, it was covered in thousands of ticks. Yeah, and it really is quite sad. But those little things can do. They have so many diseases. They'll kill anything. Click the back button. New Hampshire deer moose. Yep. This was in New Hampshire and Pittsburgh. It's on Route 3. They call it Moose Alley, if you ever heard of it. They're starting to lose their winter coat also. It turns like a kind of orange color. Then in the wintertime, it's brownish. They almost look like llamas at that time of year. Got a shot of the mother. Pittsburgh, New Hampshire. Now this is the very first moose I've ever seen in Pittsburgh, New Hampshire. We actually saw 7 moose, I believe, that trip. This is when the obsession with moose began, actually. Click the X button. We were there on Memorial Day. They say that's the best time to go. It's when they start coming out again.
We've been 3 times now. We can't find
That was the first time we saw 7. The last 2 times we saw 1. So it all depends. And the place is really popular, so there's people that, will scare them away. So it's all about the luck. But what I did was she started walking away, so I said, I'm going to follow her a little bit, just get some better shots. And so... So everyone was on the side road taking pictures. I was that one guy that was in the woods trying to get better pics. My mom's like, really? Next one. Yep. Some of these pictures, I don't know why they came out blurry. This is the set of moose sheds I found with my, in West Hartland, I found those. That set right there. What happened was, that's my friend who hikes barefoot, and that's my cousin, Ashley. She's getting addicted to the woods too. She goes to college up in New Hampshire. What happened this day was, it was January 16th, 2016, so this was a very popular area of where I constantly see moose. So we went in this woods, we just had fresh snow that night. So we found the tracks, and we said, these tracks were just made, because we just had the fresh snow. So we followed those tracks, and it led us to 3 female moose. And I was like, we had all split up. Mike was behind me, he likes to examine plants and everything. I'm not really a plant person too much, but he was behind me, so I was up ahead following the track. So I saw the 3 cows, and I was like, where's Mike? So I'm like looking behind me, and the moose are staring at me. I'm like, Mike, there's moose over here. And he's taking his time looking at the plants. I'm like, there is a moose over here. And he goes, oh, okay. So we watched them for a little bit, and it was kind of breezy that day, so whenever there was a gust of wind, luckily the wind was going away from us, was going towards us, so our scent wasn't being blown on them. So we tracked them, and they eventually bedded down with pretty close to us, but the pictures I kept getting were terrible because there was so much branches in there, and so I don't have really good pictures of them, but we watched them, and we're like, okay, let's veer off and go see what else we can find. So then we're walking about another mile or so, and we spooked 3 more moose, and it was 3 bulls, but I thought was a cow with 2 other bulls, and it was the one that had the collar on him. He was with them too. So I'm like, why is there a female with 2 bulls? Especially at that time of year, it just didn't seem to make any sense. So we followed them, got really bad pictures of them as usual. They were really far away. So I went home that day, was looking at my pictures on my laptop, scrolling through them, and the picture I took of the moose that I thought was a cow had 2, you could see red holes on his head. I was like, that moose just dropped his antlers. So I called my friend, I was like, Mike, we have to go back right now. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, dude, that moose just dropped its antlers and we just missed it. He's like, are you serious? I was like, yeah, and you could see the holes on his head, the spots, they were bright red, so he just dropped those. So I'm like, I gotta work tomorrow. So I'm like, okay, Friday we are going back in there. And so we went back in there Friday, followed the same tracks we did, and we went to the same area where we saw them and we started backtracking them. So we all split up because there's 3 different moose. So we didn't know which tracks were the set that he had lost them. So I'm like, I don't know. After finding so many of these antlers, after so many years, you kind of get like a sense, like, my ex-girlfriend thinks I was crazy, but I was like, I have like antler senses. And I used to tell her that, and she'd be like, what are you talking about? I'm like, there's an antler up there, I know it. And she goes, all right, then go up there. So I go up there, I'll come out with a set, and she'd be like, are you serious? I'm just like, I told you, after finding them for so many years, you just kind of know where they are. So my friend Mike, he split up, he went to a different trail, and I was like, I'm gonna go with this trail. I don't know why, I got a good feeling. So I was with my cousin, so we're following the trail, I'm looking at all the tracks, and the tracks, they go in circles, because when you follow moose, what they'll do is they'll make a circle in the track. It's to throw you off, because they'll look back and look at you, and they'll kind of go in like a circle to confuse their prey. If someone, or us, or a wolf or a bear is looking after them, to confuse them. So I'm going in circles, I'm just like, this is gonna be hard, but I got a feeling there's something in here. So I'm coming up a small hill, and I could see this side, right here under the side, sticking up in the snow. So I got pretty excited. I started jumping up and down. My cousin, she's just laughing the whole time, like, Ashley, oh my God. Because I would been searching in this area for at least 4 years for a set of moose sheds. It was on my bucket list to find a pair of moose sheds in Connecticut. I thought my first one I'd find would be up in Maine, not up in West Hartland. So I found the first side, and I'm jumping up and down, and it still had blood at the base of it. It dried up now. But you could tell he had just dropped that. You could see the blood droppings in the snow was from that moose that we saw. So I don't know how, and I still think this was coincidence, but he dropped those antlers the day that we went in there. I mean, that's just, the odds of that are just insane. We had fresh snow that night, fresh tracks. I mean, it was like the perfect storm. I couldn't, ask for like a better day for that. So yeah, that's him side by side. So I obviously knew the other one was going to be in there, so I said, okay. So I started calling Mike, and I was like, Mike, I found an antler. He's like, damn it. I was like, I told you, that's a shed I found in Colebrook, actually. I walked by it 3 times. Wait, slow down, go back. I walked by this antler 3 times. It was in April, and I was coming from the other direction, so it kind of just looked like sticks. They look like sticks sometimes. They call them branch antlers. I hate branch antlers. There's been times when I find a stick, it looks just like an antler, and I'm all excited, I run over, I'm like, it's a stick. And then that stick is going back in the woods. I hate branch antlers. That's the biggest moose antler I found in Maine. I found it when we were driving on a logging road. It was actually right in the side. Because they get so much snow up in that area that the moose still. That was my trip. I found 17 antlers that trip in Maine. My friend Carl, who, he's the man of the land. He found 46, but he goes up there for 4 weeks. Like he's the master. That was in West Hartland. I found that shed. That's from a smaller moose. That was a skull that had a weird deformed side on it. I found that in West Hartland near Howells Pond. Was actually an 11-point buck. That's just to show you like the types of areas moose like to hang around in. That's where you're gonna find them in the summer months. Yeah, these pictures. Wait, slow down. Yeah. It's kind of hard to see. Some of these pictures got messed up when they got transferred to my phone, but that I have that set of sheds over there. That's the first set of deer sheds I ever found behind Lake Compounds in the Bristol, Connecticut. You can actually go hiking up that mountain. And I was with my sister, and I was still very new to shed hunting, and I dragged my sister with me, and she was not happy about it because me and my sister are the total opposite. She's gonna be our next president probably. I would see it. Yeah, she thinks she's smarter than me. But no, so I brought her with me, and she's like, "Can we go now? I don't want to be here anymore." I'm like, "No, Taylor, this is a great spot." And so I ended up stopping at the edge. There's a chairlift ride that goes up Lake Compounds, but they since then took it down for some reasons. Something happened in another park. And I'm looking down, just admiring the view, and I kind of looked down, and there was a shed sitting right at my feet, and I was like, "Oh my God." So I looked behind, and I was like, "Taylor," and the other one was sitting right there. So I had walked by the other one, so they were both right there. So I'm all going crazy, and Taylor's still coming through the woods, getting thorns. She goes, "What is it? What'd you find?" I was like, "Taylor, look, I found shades." She goes, "Wow, cool. Okay, can we go now?" I was like, "No, you gotta come with me. You're good luck now. You're coming with me every time we go." I thought she was good luck, so I kept dragging my sister with me until eventually she was like, "No, I'm not going with you," because last time you left me in the woods, I was like, "I did no such thing." I didn't really do that. She was going too slow for me. That set, you can see, he dropped them both. That's a rare occurrence. It's like, sometimes there was one I found, I'll show you in a minute, in Colebrook, that huge antler, and I was like, I gotta find the other one, and I never found it. I couldn't sleep that night. I was like, when you get addicted to find those like I am, and you're like a diehard shed hunter, it gets in your blood, and you're like, I need to find an antler. I'll be driving down a grassy field, and I'm always like, there's no point sticking up anywhere. And my mom will be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Just looking for sheds." And she's like, "You're not gonna find it." I'm like, "You don't know. I'm the master." But yeah, that was a weird skull I found. He had one antler broken off. I don't know if he broke it in a fight or it just got deformed, but so I thought that was cool. That was in Southington. That was a nice shed up in that was in Wallingford. That was that shed right there. That was on the side of the logging road. Pretty camouflaged. Well, that one you could kind of see it. We were driving down a logging road, and I was with my buddy. I was like, "Wait, stop! There's a shed right there." He's like, "Go get it." So that was a nice set I found too. That's in Maine. That's set at the bottom. It was pretty nasty. It's been sitting out there for a while. What happens is, see how dark and rich that color is when they sit out there for a while, the rodents, they'll eat them up in a day. The squirrels are my worst enemies, and porcupine. Anything that eats antlers are my worst enemies because they'll chew up a really nice antler in a day. That one's got a big chew on it. You can see at the tip. Porcupines, bears, that's a moose rub from a bull moose. They'll tear apart those trees. That's call them a signpost. That was a nice shed. That was actually, you can kind of see where the shed is on the log right there. This was in my backyard. What happened was I had a trail camera, a night vision camera in my backyard, motion sensor, and this buck came out in December, and he was, feeding everything, and it was in the snow. And so I was curious. I was like, let me go walk back there and just follow his tracks. And the shed had complete bloody blaze on it. He just lost it that morning. So I had pictures of him at 5 in the morning with both antlers on. Followed his tracks that morning and found one of his antlers. Couldn't find the other one, but I was like, it was in December, which is really early for deer, but we ended up having a bad winter that year. I remember that. That was a bonus moose shed, I called it, in Salisbury. And if you know what Bear Mountain is, the tallest mountain peak in Connecticut, there's a valley in there, and I don't know why I went in there. It's so thick in there, but believe it or not, there's a few moose that hang around in there. And what happened was, I had been in that same area a few months before when there was snow. And I remember losing my pocket knife, I don't know how long ago, and I couldn't remember where I lost it. So I'm going in this area, and I'm walking, and something shines down. It's my pocket knife that I had lost and couldn't remember. I'm like, what are the odds of that? And this is a huge woods too. So I picked up my knife, looked over. Oh wait, go back. Go back, no. And I looked over, and that shed was right there. So I'm like, that wasn't there before. And again, what are the odds that I find my lost pocket knife, and then there's a dropped antler right there? So I don't know. It's weird how it happens. Sometimes it happens by accident. I've stepped on a few antlers too. That hurts too. That was that's a hard picture to see. There was a side-by-side set buried in the leaves. That shed, you could see where he walked and see where he dropped it, and he dropped it right on top of the snow. So it was kind of cool the way it was laying. That was the one in Salisbury. I went to the top of the mountain and took a few pictures. I said, there's a gorgeous view. And people were up there like, did you find that in here? Or, actually what people were saying were like, did you kill that moose? I was like, no. I was like, no, it's a shed. And I had to explain to them. And, I actually got a girl's number that day too because of that. Off that shed up there, I found that in Sullyton. That's one of that big deer that you saw. That's his antler from the year before, but it was all bleached out and it was in the same area. So I have a few antlers off that deer, but believe it or not, unfortunately, the one I showed you, that big deer with the antlers that was on top of the ridge, I found out a couple years later, he actually got locked up with another buck. They were in a fight and he snapped his neck and he got killed. Nature can be cruel sometimes, and a police officer in Sullyton who happens to hunt got the deer, and I was like, why didn't they call me? I know this deer. So I tried getting in contact with that police officer because I was like, listen, I know this deer. I got tons of sheds off him. I'd love to see what he looks like now. And I didn't put a picture up here because, he was dead, but, he was a terrible way to go. That's a shed I found in Southington.
Jake, when they shed them,
Yep.
do they just fall off, or do they have to rip them off on the
Sometimes I've heard that they can, if they lose one antler, they can walk around all lopsided and it looks kind of funny, especially moose with their size of their antlers, so they'll kind of be like this and they're like out of balance, so they'll whack it against something. Occasionally they will, and I've also heard that it itches too, so they want to get it off. But they can go from anywhere, from a deer jumping across a creek and the impact will just cause one to fall off, or they'll kind of spar a little bit with another buck, and any kind of impact, if it's ready to go, it'll fall off.
Imagine it's like a baby tooth.
It is. It's almost like losing a tooth and it grows back right away again. Those two sets, I found two sets that day when I saw that moose in the Meriden Cheshire line. That one is hard to see. I mean, some of them are like a needle in the haystack to see one of them. That was another side-by-side set. The other side's all the way in the back. You can't really see it that well. That was one of them off that big deer I showed you. And another picture of that one. That one was actually up on Moosin Hill Road. If you know, at the bottom of that hill where the reservoir is, there's kind of like a dirt lot and there's a road that goes in there with a gate. I actually had to really go to the bathroom, and this is a funny story. So I was like, I'm gonna park here, I gotta go to the bathroom. So I walked in there, went to the bathroom, walked back, stepped on that shed. I was like, it's funny how that happens sometimes. I find them in the weirdest situations sometimes. I found 3 that day. That was at Ragged Mountain in Southington. That was in a Great Mountain Forest. What happened with this deer was that swamp was all flooded, but there was one year we had a really big drought, and all the water completely receded, and those sheds were actually dropped in the water, but then they refroze from the ice, and then the ice melted, and the deer probably was walking on the ice to get across because it was so thick, and then I ended up finding one shed. It was kind of eaten up, and the other side was, I don't even know where.
Is there a commercial market for these, or are there laws about?
People pay pretty big money, especially for moose antlers.
Yeah.
Especially for moose antlers, people will pay a lot of money for it. That's another moose rub in West Hartland. You can see their bottom teeth marks. I found that's the only skull I found in Ontario, Canada, where my aunts live. Moose tracks walking right by my truck. After I came out of the woods, he decided to pay me a visit, and I wasn't there. Another skull I found, nice 10-point set. That's in Middlefield, Connecticut. Baby moose shed in East Hartland. And that's my old bed. I put all my sheets on it. My mom's like, you better not bring a girl in here. There's a few more of the sheds. That one I stepped on. There's that's actually a track off of a moose that was in West Hartland that Fred actually has a video of on his trail camera, or from his tree stand. And yep, so got plenty more photos, but we're running out of time here, so they said I got to wrap it up. So those are most of my photos. I do have a Facebook page that I post it occasionally. It's called Jake Harton Nature Photography, where I post photos of crazy stuff I've seen with like the backstory of it and everything. I decided to do that. So if you want to see, I'm always uploading photos on there. If you want to see it, you can follow me on Facebook. It's called Jake Harton Nature Photography. And so that's the presentation. Thank you, Jake. Thanks.
Really like the video. We don't often see video clips of wildlife in Hartland. I want to present you with one of our hats. We used to have T-shirts that had moose on them. Unfortunately, we don't have any to give you, so we have this nice hat with our Hartland logo, and the two green curves on the top will represent East Hartland and West Hartland, the reservoir. But if you want to think of those as sheds, you're welcome to.
I like that idea.
Who's to argue? So thank you so much, Jake. This concludes our program for the evening. We have refreshments, and take a look at some of our maps and charts and photographs of our preserves. We have 2 preserves, and then we have some items for sale. All right, thank you very much for coming.